Awesome.
Okay, we are live. Hello, hello, everybody out there in cyber world, Facebook world. Ronnie Landis here with the amazing Solara Sophia Rose. And we wanted to dive deep into a bunch of different things, but we'll synthesize it. The topics that I'm really interested in diving into are whole human optimization, what you and I are calling cosmic union. And then we definitely want to share with people as we progress in this conversation, we want to share with people this upcoming 3-month mentorship container that we're creating, which is unlike anything else that's ever been created, which it would take you and I to come together to create it, obviously. And that was inspired through you and I reconnecting recently and diving deep into our own conversations on these topics and everything that we've been unfolding in our own personal journeys. And really, really excited to share all that with you guys. So in this moment, let's just do a little check-in. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. I'm so excited. We can really go anywhere. As you were sharing, when you said the synthesis, what I heard was the synthesis of genius and coming into the depth embodiment in our multidimensional human avatar of that intelligence, which is another way of saying cosmic union, the marriage of the masculine and feminine poles in our being, which is what actually creates a super flow. It activates the neurochemistry of flow in our system, and we get to experience that androgynous union with the self. And what I'm really thrilled, well, I mean, I'm thrilled about the whole thing. I was so excited. There's so much juice in this whole experience. But really looking at the deep somatic integration of our I am presence, and then also what I would consider embodied imagination to really crystallize our dreams, because that's a component that's really not as emphasized in the realm of manifesting. It's a rich, sumptuous, somatic, frequential integration of our visions that allows it to land and crystallize in our physical reality. And so to dive into all of that and to liberate people into their flow and support with the tools and the technologies, and also the very practical, tactical aspects of what it is to reset our biology, our nervous system, all of this that allows that flow to be an integrative experience of liquid rapture, which is what we're calling this glorious container. I'm so excited. Yes, please.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's amazing. Obviously, you and I have the understanding that you don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are.
Yes.
And this is the most important insight into the whole world of manifestation, the law of attraction, which to me, the law of attraction is really the law of magnetism. And I've gone really deep over the years, and especially the last year. And I even wrote a whole section in my book, The Addiction-Free Lifestyle, the chapter on goals, purpose, and vision. And the first section of that chapter was really this exploration into magnetism and electricity, just those themes, right? And how those play out from, okay, the masculine, feminine perspective. Masculine is typically electricity, electrolytical. It's overt, it's outward energy, but it's finite. You only have so much of it at any given time. It doesn't renew itself. So you have to recharge that battery. Yep. And then the feminine principle is magnetism. And it's like a pulse wave. It pulses from within and emits in a magnetic wave that is magnetic, right? Yes. So that's the first step, is just understanding those basic dynamics. And so when we think of like, okay, are you in your masculine or feminine? That's kind of convoluted. That's very convoluted.
Totally.
It actually doesn't even make sense. The way that people language it, at least for me, practically speaking, it makes more sense if we understand the mechanics or the engineering, the inner engineering of it. So this idea of electricity and magnetism makes a lot of sense to me. Now, when you have unification of the two complementary opposites, what do you have? You have electromagnetism. And that's what is actually running this realm. I don't really call it a planet anymore. That's a whole side topic, but this realm that we're in, it's a, you know, there is a magnetic field, something like some kind of electromagnetic dome of some sort with stargates and interdimensional portals. And that's a fun topic to go on to, but I'll leave it at that. But what's governing the laws of this realm are these principles. And these are also the principles that govern our energy body. You know, we are one with the earth. And when we think of, okay, I am one with the earth, what does that mean? To me, this is exactly what it means. And so when you get grounded on the earth, you're tapping into the pulse wave that's emitting from the Schumann resonance, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, we can go, what's great is we can unpack all of that further and further. And we're going to do more of that in our program. But that piece right there is really interesting for me because it practicalizes these more mystical, it demystifies the convolution of ideas that sound like they make sense, but it's like, how do I actually practice that in real time?
Yes, beautiful. Thank you so much for bringing that forward. I'm so grateful. I'm like so lit on the science because it's a really beautiful way to exactly what you said, demystify some of these concepts and actually bring it into an integrative practice that is more, it's neutral observative in its effect. You know, it doesn't mean anything about our value as human beings. It's like we're in a space where we're either requiring the replenishment of neurochemicals, which is the magnetic sphere, or we're in a space where we're fully charged and we're in an expressive electric masculine space. And so it's creating that dynamic synergy between the two that allows us to thrive in that space on a continuum. So really being aware of our rhythms, our cycles, what our unique biology requires in any given moment, and not making it mean something about what, you know. And one of the Nassim speaks into this, and I love it, how we actually extract energy from the quantum field, because this is the, you know, the quantum subspaces that you're speaking into is rich with plasma. And that plasma, when it is online in our body, is what actually creates physical matter. And so when they were exploring how the light bulb works, they were wanting to know how is this emanating light into the field? What is creating that charge that allows it to emanate? And so what they realized is that the light itself was actually extracting quanta of energy from the unified field that we are all immersed in, that allowed it to then emanate that light. But it was the combination, the fusion of that feminine energetic of being in a quantum vacuum 0 point state of reception, of magnetism, of absorption, of extraction from the field that allowed it to charge up all of its energetics and then emanate that light forward. And so these are some of the dynamics that we're going to be supporting people with, actually having the tools and the wisdom to do that. So how does one actually extract energy from the field? How does one integrate that into their cellular molecular embodiment and then radiate it forth? And that's so you know, that also touches into concepts like illumination and enlightenment, which we're, you know, speaking into in all of this too. But that's what it is. It's to be filled with light. And so that we're all always supercharged and energized to really thrive fully in this here and now, because what we're ultimately seeking beyond the novelty rich experience of our desires is actually the felt experience of our own power, our own radiance, our own sense of like flow, like, you know, that liquid rapture, the flow. It's the ultimate experience that we're desiring to have in any given moment, in connection and relation to what we are engaging with and interfacing with in our present moment, no matter what that may be. And so we're really also getting to the core of why we desire what we desire. And bringing that online so that every moment can be infused with that vital mystical essence and aliveness that we're desiring to experience.
So well put. There's a whole bunch of little tangents I can go on to. I'll just mention this real briefly. Like the thing that came to mind when you're talking about the light bulb, immediately I thought of like Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla and that whole thing. And it's another interesting like duality that speaks to the same thing that we're bringing up, which is like, okay, you have the light bulb, and then you have free energy generating technology. You have a character like Edison, who ultimately wanted to monopolize and contain that energy and sell it in these finite containers called light bulbs, and then, you know, mass produce it and make a lot of money and control the energy source. Then you have Nikola Tesla, who is actually developing technology that's a direct conduit to the source and wanted to make it completely freely available to everyone. And what I find interesting about that, it's kind of what we're dealing with in the world, and that's what we're dealing with within ourselves and how we're approaching our life. Are we approaching it from this kind of I don't know, of consumer based reality? That's definitely how our world is trying to it's consuming and extracting energy versus freely giving the infinite energy that's already available directly from source. So in other words, are we trying to go to the middleman, i.e. the light bulb, or are we going directly to source, which we have a direct connection to? And so what you're speaking to, what I'm speaking into, is ultimately your physical body is actually a free energy generating technology.
Yes.
And that's what has not been bestowed to us. That's not what's been, we haven't learned that. We haven't learned how to, you know, we were audioing back and forth today, and you were talking about the energy vortexes in the body, i.e. the chakras. And I didn't respond back to that, but I wanted to say, like, I have the same exact perspective. These vortices in the body are actually portals, energetic portals within the body. And when they're all synchronized spherically together, they're aligned together, and they're humming together like an orchestra. Like so in other words, we're in harmony, hormonal harmony, neurochemically, et cetera, then we're actually able to generate a self-renewable, self-organizing energy that is just ongoing. Right.
Yes.
In the body itself, in the brain, the nervous system is being replenished. And that really is the code to not just longevity, but potentially immortality.
Yes, absolutely. 1000%. Oh, yes, yes, yes. And I love your linguistic artistry and channeling all of that through with such precision. Thank you for that. And this is also the key to sustainable magic. This is practical magic, because we become a living symphony of synchronicity when we're embodied fully in this intelligence, and we have it running freely through our system. And these energetic vortices are just simply these beautiful gates and pathways that, when open, spinning, running freely and clear with this energy and this intelligence, creates the grander harmonic of self that we are. And with that, so what we're speaking into too is just self-sourcing our power, and therefore self-sourcing our entire reality, and having the awareness that all of this happens from within. There is no amount of doing in the outside world that is going to create the maximized lived experience of premium quality flourishing at all levels of our beingness outside of embodiment. And so it's really getting into these spaces. And when we realize the power of that, when we really realize how powerful we are internally, I mean, that's also what creates sovereignty and autonomy, because we're creating our reality exactly where we are, exactly how we be, right where we stand. And it's not contingent upon all of these isolated facets of our world. It's that deep internal synchrony that creates the lived paradise that the innate desire is there for us to all experience it, because it's our original nature. It's our true nature. And so, of course, we're always seeking to harmonize with that which we are in truth, so that we can experience the fullness of that which we are in our divinity, in all the spaces, places, and facets of our reality. And the glory of this too is it's so it's so simple and it's so potent because it's one unified intelligence that we're integrating to. So it also creates a very laser lucid clear line to what we are focusing on as we are integrating. It's embodying super conscious intelligence, the mind of source. And I love that you brought up these planetary aspects also, because in my experience, that sense of consumerism comes when we get to the empathetic qualities and nature of that, because people are desiring to experience their power, their vitality, their livelihood, their pure embodied connection to source energy. And they believe that those externalized components are going to provide that for them. And at best, it's a temporary gratification that leaves us desiring more. So when we connect into this quintessential core that we are, and we start to generate this free energy, it releases us from all of those patterns and those programs. We actually get to transcend fully so much limitation and really be embodied in the human infinite, in which case we become the masterful generator of all resources, because we are internally connected to the ultimate resource, which is that free energy flow. And it starts with the consciousness. And here's the thing too, before we start trying to go out there and build this new earth, it must be built upon wholeness and integrity. So it begins with the consciousness of the human being fully whole, fully synergized, fully synchronized and complete here as that super conscious intelligence, so that energetic translates through all that we create in our lives. And then our creations are a reflection of that integrity. If we try to go out here and create the thing, and this is a space and place that a lot of people attempt to manifest from, also from not being fully integral and embodied in here, and we create a fragmented reality. We create fragmented systems. We create fragmented experiences in our lives. And so coming into this coherency is foundational, primary, and it sets the rich building blocks for everything else that we create in our lives to truly flourish and thrive through time in the way that we desire. This is how we create lasting unions and legacies and systems in our world that thrive all without having to create these cycles of samsara where we chase our tail and we go through the loops. We actually experience the dharmic reality that is accessible to all of us.
Yes I mean it's so spot on, and this whole thing around wholeness is really primary. And understanding that if we're running the electrical program dominantly, that again, that's not a renewable source of energy. It's like quick bursts, but where is it coming from? Is it coming from a fragmented, fractured internal reality, with trauma patterns and wounds and unhealed, unresolved aspects of self that are trying to fill a void by extracting something outside of ourselves in order to fill those empty spaces? It really does come down to wholeness. That's why I use the phrase whole, healed, and complete all the time now, because that is primary. Yeah. If we are not, where is our coming from? What is, so I mean, that's what we're really speaking into, and that's what we're inviting people into, is the felt experience of your wholeness. And also getting out of this whole perpetual loop of healing.
Yes.
Because the truth about it, me, like I've been in this field for, almost 12 years in the healing field, and I've seen it all. And I've come to figure out that there is a significant difference between people that heal very quickly from all manner of conditions and people who never, ever do. Yes. And the main thing is that you're actually healed already, but there's fractures within our consciousness, and there's things that outside of us we're trying to fill that internal void. And there's also this victim consciousness that is trying to validate its own existence. It's looking outside of itself and pointing at things to gratify its own lower frequencies, i.e., this is why this happens to me. It's just trying to validate these lower frequencies of being. And it does take a significant effort, a significant amount of energy to thrust ourselves out of that if we've been in it for a long time. It's the exact process of overcoming addiction. I mean, that's ultimately what we're talking about, is like overcoming the addiction of being who you're used to being. So you can actually be who you actually are, which is a being that's whole, healed, and complete, an immortal soul in a physical body that actually has potentially an infinite biological cycle. Theoretically, it's certainly longer than what we've been told, but we haven't been told how to activate that. And so what's exciting about this whole kind of, this conversation, and especially the 3-month container that we're inviting people into, is that these are not just concepts. Like, yeah, this is an exciting discussion for sure, but this is actually super practical, strategic, proven pathway on how to fully embody your avatar self in your physical body. Doesn't happen over time. It took us a long time to get to where we are. So if we've been digging ditches, it's going to take some time and effort to dig our way out. But the cool thing is, if you build momentum in a singular direction with a singular focus, i.e., okay, I need to course correct. I need to fix some things. I need to heal. Cool. Awesome. Let's focus on that with all of our intent, but not just healing, but the version of us that's already healed, and start adapting the patterns, behaviors, thought forms, emotional states, and the connection to source that version of me already has. And what's amazing is that we start to transcend the healing process. Because the version of us that's whole, healed, and complete doesn't need to heal from anything.
Yes.
It's like the most amazing insight that I've ever gotten into the nature of transformation, which is, yes, okay, on the 3D lag time reality, there is like a perceived lag time. Things are incremental, takes time. Okay, cool. But you can speed that process up if you're willing to see yourself beyond the circumstance. If you're willing to see, if you have the courage and the self-worth, that's the big thing. If you actually have the self-worth to see yourself beyond the situation at hand, you can deal with the situation, but you're not, it's like, okay, the best analogy is like, I used to break bricks in Taekwondo, like, like they'd stack two 2-inch cinder blocks. I'd do demonstrations and break it. Then it's like, okay, 3, let's add 4. And I would break every one of them. And people would be like, wow, how did you do that? I'm like, well, it's actually simple. I don't aim for the brick. I go through it.
Yeah.
My sight is on the floor. Like, I'm literally punching the floor. And then my fist just goes right through the bricks. Yes. But I don't deny the bricks are there. But like, I'm very cognizant of the fact that there are concrete bricks. So I set my fist and I do, but my mindset is that I'm going through it because I'm not going to get stopped by the barrier.
Yes, this is exquisite. It's like the quantum exponential timeless reality is what we're speaking into now. And this is my jam. This is where I play with people. This is what we delve into. And I know that you do too, especially through your palpable, powerful quantum collapse experience, which literally self-organizes the body intelligence in less than 10 minutes. So like, to create these shifts is instantaneous. It's quantum, it's timeless, it's now. And what it does, because what happens in one place in the quantum holographic field happens everywhere simultaneously, meaning that all facets of our holographic reality update when we update here. The mastery is maintaining those shifts. Yes. And that's where having the tools and the technologies is important, because when we shift into the human limited consciousness space, we have these tools and technologies and activations, which I will provide for everyone. It's extraordinarily powerful, will shift your entire being, world, and reality into absolute coherency swiftly. Yes. So powerful. And so then it's having the tools to shift back into the knowingness that I am, that I am, that I am. I am the infinite God self, creator, creatress. emanating through human form. I am that inherently worthy, inherently whole, inherently complete, valuable, sacred, love, all of that. And so it's knowing who we are in truth and always realigning to that wider vantage point of self, which also allows us to transcend all of the personality constructs and identifications of the mind, the rules and the archetypes of the human. And then we get into this gorgeous playground of, okay, I am that I am, and that's my set point. I know that, I own that, I claim that, I embody that, I experience that. And the aligning with the super conscious reality perception, which is all is perfect. I am perfect. I am in perfect health, thriving prosperity, thriving relationships, thriving super sensuous creativity, all of the things that we desire to code in. So if you listen to any of my activations, I get like real into the all of that majesty and glory, like powerful activations to reset everything. But that's a fun playground for us, because then we really start to get to the space of encoding our own operating system, and therefore the novel, the story, the reality that we choose to live. And we can actually then have fun with the mythical archetypes. It's not coming from our limited self that thinks we need to inhabit a certain role or certain qualities.
I need to trudge through this thing. I'm like, okay, God, I'm healing. I've been healing for 10 years. I've been in this process with my partner for 5 years. It's never ending. It's just trudging through, right?
Right.
That's most experiences.
Yeah. And, even in A Course in Miracles, they define a miracle as a shift in perception, which I love. So it's like in Wayne Dyer, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So the way to create the change is to view ourselves as what we desire to be and who we are in truth. I am healthy. The body heals when we tell it it is healed. The body heals when we reinforce perfect health and we see ourselves thriving in that reality. So there's also a potent, precising artistry to results and outcomes focus only. That is it. I am landing in that reality, fully actualized. I don't need to know the how. I don't need to know all the synchronicities that are going to take place to align that experience and bring it to full fruition. But what I know is this is the destination. This is the vision. This is the result, the outcome. And I'm landing with every fiber and ounce of my being, my vision, my psychosomatic awareness and intelligence in that reality. And when we do that, I will say this, this house is a great example of this. I've had whole worlds drop into my current reality, like massive landscape shifts and scene shifts and beautiful beings coming in, prolific prosperity manifesting, like just so much. And we're a great example of that too. Truly, how long did it take us to come into within 5 minutes of seeing each other, we were just, we had a gorgeous embrace for just 30 minutes. And all that we recognized was the love that was there.
Yes.
That was it. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Because we chose to witness and observe truth and let everything else go.
Yeah. And okay, so this is a really important piece just to speak on when it comes to like love relational dynamics, because this is an aspect of it. It's definitely, in the work that I am doing and wanting to bring more into the world around self-mastery, there's many dimensions of our life that they all need to be focused on. Relationships are maybe the most important, just because our relationships affect us more than anything else does. It's the number one reason for stress in most cases. Certainly has been the case in my life. And also the biggest mirror for my own self-mastery process more than anything else. Everything else has actually been relatively easy in comparison. And it's caused me to see myself and have to go deeper into myself than anything else. And so, when we think about divine union, sacred union, these terms and these deep yearnings that we all have for partnership, and we get into these different relationships and there's all kinds of fumbling and stumbling and, kind of navigating in the dark for many different reasons. Where was I going with that? What did you say right before I went on that?
Well, it's really meeting the God self and the love in
Yeah.
others and ourselves first
That's
and
it.
foremost.
Yeah, that's it. So being able to recognize, so it's like being able to let go of everything that's not actually you,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to perceive the other as they actually are, the innocence of pure love, because that's what draws us together. That's what we're in it together for. But then all these other dynamics and identities and masks and all this stuff gets layered on, projections, expectations, et cetera, and all that locks us into the constraints of time. But
Mm-hmm.
love is actually timeless,
Yes.
and that's what we're all seeking. So whether it's in a relationship or it's in relationship to ourself in our own life, the flow state, the ecstatic flow state experience is about tapping into the timelessness of pure love.
Yes, yes, yes. And this is what I experience as like the romantic, I talk about this all the time, like the romantic, adventurous odyssey that is our lives in every here and now, because we're in relation with everything and everyone. And so when we come to that quintessential core of truth, we're able to live in that stream of liquid nirvana and liquid love, liquid rapture. It's all the other layers are these superficial layers of our experience, and we can become masterful psychics, perceivers, interpreters of energy when we know that the truth is that quintessential light and core of divinity, of reality, of superconscious cosmic intelligence that is at the heart of all things. And we can have empathy for our own selves and for all the beautiful beings in our world and our lives, because we know that that jewel underlies all of those layers, those programs, those patterns. And we can start to just graciously release those and allow them to dissolve back into the light of truth. And that's a willingness to anchor into, I mean, I would just in those spaces to come internal within ourselves and really meet those spaces of ourselves with deep empathy, compassion, innocence, grace, love, tenderness, gentleness. And then we expand our capacity to meet others in that way, which is where, it's like decadent self-worship and self-honor that we give to ourselves from a space of genuine like nobility and virtue and our royal cosmic heart. And we give that to ourselves so deeply and richly and profoundly that we're then equipped to meet the world in that way. And if we're in a space where in a moment we're not sensing our capacity to do that, it's likely something simple, just like a child. Our physical body probably just either needs rest or hydration or
right.
love.
Yeah.
And so it's always the invitation to come back, nurture this garden first, water this garden first, and then recognize that the masterful practice is to meet the love of life in every now moment and to engage the romance, the dance of that love in our every here and now. And that is that really, this is what I call the wish fulfilling jewel, living the pure embodied emanation of love through in every single here and now, no matter what we're relating to the quintessential God spark, the indomitable God spark in that. And there's also a really profound beauty in that too, because it liberates us from needing to save, fix, heal, solve ourselves or anybody else, because I'm only ever seeing someone. I will only witness you in your full power, your full glory, your full prosperity, your full magnificence. I'm aware that those other components may be there, that you may be experiencing yourself in that way, but I'm not choosing to focalize that. I'm not choosing to witness that. I'll hold a loving space for you to experience your, and your I'm
rise.
Speaking. Yeah, right. And so it's like, and oftentimes I find myself in my practice now, I'll just stop the story before it even gets going. I'm just like, yep, I love you so much. We're just gonna, because we don't want to create that narrative. It's like, that may be what the limited energetic in you is experiencing. Because when we're contracted, our consciousness is contracted. So of course, all the narratives that come with that contracted frequencies are going to be of limitation. When we're open, expanded into truth, the frequency shifts and therefore the narrative shifts. And so if someone's in that space, the best process to actually guide them into is your quantum collapse process.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even get
Mm-hmm.
into the story. Don't try to like go resolving at the level of mind. Actually lean back and drink from the fountainhead of divinity first. Allow your body's intelligence to self-organize, and then come into it from a space of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
So and this is what allows the shifts to be exponential. In any given moment, we can choose to turn off the mind, connect to the breath, and get into the somatic sensory experience of the physical body, which immediately reorganizes the intelligence of the body, and we can re-engage our life from a more optimum, expanded consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, incredibly put. Yeah, it's so interesting, and we want to we'll pivot here soon, but this is just such a powerful conversation. So many powerful insights into the nature of true transformation, not just like pretending to do the work or pretending that I'm transforming, but kind of just playing peekaboo with reality and popping in and out and doing the yo-yo thing. Which is an experience that all of us have had, and I certainly have, which is why I can speak so articulately to it, because I know it intimately. And I also know that when we allow ourselves to dissolve the storylines, and we talked about this, doesn't matter if the story is a good one or if it's a bad one, ultimately it's still a story, and it's an inaccurate interpretation of what's real. And so being able to not just quiet the mind, but to not even transcend the mind, but to allow the mind to equilibrate to the intelligence of the body through the felt experience altogether, is the mind and the body and the heart and all the, however you want to language it, it's seeking equilibration. It's seeking equanimity within itself, because the body is a living organism that our soul is in or outside of, or however you want to think of it. Ultimately, it is all one, but the experience of it tends to be fragmented. And that's what we're speaking to is, okay, how do you self-organize your own human experience and the energetics that are going on within your field of awareness, your field of experience? And the caveat is that it requires you to actually make a choice. And I think that that's what came up for me as I was listening to you. I was like, why, it's so simple and so obvious, yet why do so many of us have trouble actually embodying these principles? It's because we may not have actually made a firm choice that that's what we're about. And it's because of the stories that we have, we're still entertaining these stories. And so, through the breath, through whatever transcendent experiences help you get there, it's like, okay, now I have a glimpse of the mountaintop. This happens with plant medicines. I've done many deep plant medicine ceremonies recently, and those have been so extraordinarily powerful in so many ways. But also what I recognize is that it still comes down to the integration. And so even with what we're talking about in these principles and these practices, ultimately it's going to be the choice to integrate at every moment possible. It's not just like, it's not something that you can dabble with. It's like you actually have to take the willingness that I am going to integrate this. I am going to practice this at every moment I can. I have 5 minutes here. Cool. I'm going to read. I'm going to, whatever. Like, I'm going to make the most of every pocket of time, or I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to be whatever it is, to reprogram and repattern the old rehearsed patterns of who I'm accustomed to being, in order to transcend that thing altogether, so I can actually be who and what I know that I am, that I got the glimpse of the mountaintop. That wasn't just some, God wasn't just messing with me to give me a glimpse of what's possible. You actually got a download of what's actually possible but now we have to make our way up the mountaintop. We can trudge our way up there, and yeah, eventually you'll get there, and then you'll probably die soon after, because that's a long, hard haul of a trip, right? Maybe
Yeah,
you'll get
we're not taking that path.
and that'll probably be like some DMT release when you die. That's great. That's fun. Or or we can utilize a better vehicle to just go. There's probably a better path, is what I'm saying.
Yes, there's direct illumination. And this is even having the palpable statements. And the key with these is, and this is the palpability of the activations, is that we feel it, we embrace it, we know it, we see it in our embodiment as we're saying it. I am the synthesis of infinity. I am the synthesis of fluorescent genius intelligence. I am a symphony of living synchronicity. And it's to really like, and that's the quantum, that's the power of it. We're feeling the fullness of that and seeing it in our embodiment as we're making these commands, because our brain is unconditional. It absorbs everything that we tell it as true. So when we feel, see, and know simultaneously, we become prolific, masterful magi in our reality, and we can create these new and novel landscapes. And it is instantaneously. So it's actually landing. It's the recognition that it is not a requirement to climb the mountain or to row upstream. It's actually to land at the top of the mountain in our wholeness, in our perfection, in our divinity, and to start masterfully, consciously creating our reality from right where we stand. We can reorient our past and future simultaneously, instantly, in this now. Then it's about, okay, I'm complete with the healing paradigms, the trudging through the swamp, that whole thing. I've done it. It's,
cancel, clear, delete, swipe
eventually
left.
The intelligence within us goes, there must be a more efficient, pleasurable way to do this. Please revealeth that wisdom to me. And then the answer comes, right? Because there's the desire to know. And so then it's about, okay, I'm released from that. The point of orientation, the pillar of orientation is I am that I am that I am. And as the God self, who am I really? So this is who I am. I'm not becoming that. I'm not doing 10 years of work to even to calibrate to that. I am the synthesis of that genius intelligence now. I claim that, I own that, I command that, I be that. And from this point, it's pure creation. Okay, from the point of my wholeness, what would be the most sumptuously delicious, luscious experience for me to architect in my reality? We are creators, we are architects, we are sculptors, designers, painters, dancers. This is really who and what we are. We are pure creation. So this container is also a prolific invitation into in liberation, true liberation and freedom into pure creation. We're creating these shifts quantumly, instantaneously, and then we're right into exponential reality architecture. And we're designing our lives intentionally, by design, swiftly, powerfully, immediately, instantaneously. And this is the space that we're shifting into, is this just pure creation.
Architecting your reality. This is cosmic reality architecting 101. And the thing is, all you need is 101. You don't even need like a whole, that comes later. Like that, yeah, this right here is like, this is the quintessential like blueprint insight into, how to actually transform every dimension, every facet of your reality. And yeah, and I just want to say, like, yes, it sounds really good, and it is really good. And I'm just feeling what some people may be thinking right now. Like, oh my God, like that's like, it sounds so good. I know that that's possible, but man, it's like, it's so hard. And by the way, like, sometimes things are hard, but what I'm getting from what Solara is saying is that it's really actually about your attitude, right? Like when I go to the gym, for example, super basic example, when I go to the gym, I'm lifting heavy weights and I'm not going there just to hang out. Like, I'm going there to push my limits. But here's the thing, my attitude determines how much I enjoy it and why am I doing it. Right. So like when I go in there with a certain attitude, a certain focus. And even though there's resistance, even though there's a sense of struggle, it's not really a struggle. But there's hard work to do. It's incredibly pleasurable because I have a certain attitude about it. And there's a reason why I'm doing the thing.
Yes, it's all about attitude, perspective, and choice. To be perfectly delightfully frank, heart is a choice, struggle is a choice. And as a woman who chose those paradigms of deep catalytic trauma for years in profound ways that I wouldn't, and was why I do the work that I do now, to provide these tools for people so they do not have to traverse the depth of suffering that I opted into, that there are these, and this is how they were birthed unto me, these awarenesses, as I resolved my own nature. It's to provide these, it is a choice. And oftentimes it's the simple, however soon we decide to surrender, however quick we're willing to let go of needing to hold on to whatever it is that we're holding on to that's creating the dynamic tension, resistance, struggle within us, and surrender into that timeless, unconditional love, the somatic experience of the reception of love, trusting, knowing that we're fully supported by all that is, our whole creation. As soon as we let go, that synthesis starts to take place, but we must allow ourselves go there. And yeah, and so there's so much meat and juice even just around that. Our nature is ecstasy. It's not even pleasure, it's not even happiness, it's ecstasy. That's what we're here for, right? Is to, and that,
don't lower the bar. Like you can go beyond basic like happiness.
And that's, and that's the realm that, like, at a certain point, those dynamics don't even do it for me anymore. I'm like, I'm like rapture. I want to feel the pure rolling sensations of rapture, of love making in my body, in my reality, on a kid. That's the satiation of soul. That's the most premium quality, pinnacle nutrition that we are looking for. The satiation to be quenched by the ecstasy of soul. That can be found nowhere else except through internal. And that's, and one of the primary reasons I actually did a lot of work with Stephen Kotler was to have these tools to bring forth how do we actually siphon the Promethean's fire and get it online in our system so that we can live it all the way through. And it's exactly like working out, right? Like when I work out, I love to feel like the resistance actually like in my muscles when I'm doing my push-ups and when I'm doing because I know that it's making me a healthier, stronger, more vibrant, vital me. And it's a practice. I don't just work out one day a week and expect that my whole reality and my whole health and my whole system is going to be. And this is so it's practice. And that's what you're speaking into also is, yes, the shift is instantaneous, but are we maintaining the shift that we have selected to be the person and the being that we desire to be, to experience and live the reality that we desire to be living and experiencing?
Beautiful, beautiful way to tie that together. Yeah, I mean, life is a practice, and this whole kind of immediate gratification, dopaminergic, addicted type of world that we're in, it's led all of us astray, to short-term results at long-term expenses. And we wonder why our life's not working out, our relationships aren't working out, our health's not working out, our goals are, we get a little bit of momentum, we get excited, we feel like things are starting to turn around, but then it all goes sideways again because we were not understanding that, we've practiced patterns of behavior and practiced patterns of being all of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, and that's the earnestness about this. Like it's an earnest effort to actually practice, like to be devoted. Like I love the word discipline.
Yes.
Discipline to me is one of the most amazing words, because the root of it is discipleship. And a lot of people in the spiritual community, they're like, oh no, discipline, it's hard, and it's like it's you know, it's a very flimsy, whimsical attitude. It's like, well, okay, well, let me show you something. This thing right here, you know, when you wake up in the morning and you look at this, what are you worshiping? Because that's a form of discipleship. So are you waking up in the morning? And I'm guilty of this too. Are we waking up in the morning and are we praying? Are we taking 10 diaphragmatic breaths? Are we slowly transitioning today? Are we going to our meditation altar? Are we communing with the divine, whatever it may be? Or are we immediately getting onto this thing? Whatever it is that we're focalizing our time, energy, and effort into is a form of discipleship, and that creates disciplines that create patterns and neural pathways that form who we're being, and they reinforce themselves.
Yes.
So that's where I like to just kind of help people just understand, like, it's going to take an earnest, authentic, honest effort to become all that you can be. And that's the beauty of it, because it's not just that's actually the joy and the fulfillment, because the brain doesn't register, like, okay, for example, you know, the hijacked dopamine system gets any kind of gratification from getting something, and it's very short-lived and it's fleeting, and you need more of it to get the same stimulation. But the serotonin receptors, which is the antidepressant component of our neurochemistry, is all about being in the present moment. It's not future projecting. It's all about the present moment, and it's all about making progress. And that's the key. It's not about getting somewhere. It's just the simple joy of making progress, moving forward. And you know, and that's where life becomes fulfilling, you know, and people that have no concept of anything we're talking about live very simple lives, but they're fulfilled, they're content, they're happy, because they're simply doing what, and they may not even be doing what they quote unquote love to do, but they have love in their life.
Yes.
And they're just making progress in their life. And that right there is really where the fulfillment is. Now, what's really amazing, if you can take that basic wisdom of life and now couple it with this like expansive awareness of what's truly possible, now we're talking about something that I don't even think has ever existed on this planet.
Totally. I know. That's what I love about the power of our dynamic, is because there is a dynamic integrative fusion of those two realms, because it's what you're first. I feel called to speak into this energetic. I want to liberate a few solar plexuses here. There's because right, this is where we digest energy, and we assimilate energy, we assimilate power, we receive nourishment, nutrients. All of this is right in the core of our solar plexus. That is the energetic of enrichment. And so it's not about getting something, which comes from a space of incompletion and lack. It's about being something, being all that we are. And that hits right at the core of our solar plexus. So when I be the most magnificent me that I know I can be in every moment, and I carry that resonance through all that I do. So even looking at the technological aspects of our lives and these rituals and these habits that we have, when I move into those spaces, I'm moving into it from a space of unified beingness. I'm moving into it consciously. I am selecting it consciously. I'm choosing to engage with this technology right now. I'm moving into it with joy. I'm moving into it with fulfillment. I'm moving into it and not allowing it to be master of me, not allowing it to fragment and disorient my consciousness, my psychology, my mind, all of that, not allowing it to avert me from being with me fully, but moving into it from my core of wholeness and and pure beingness. So it's actually even the grander harmonic of this is bringing the beingness into the doing, whatever it is that we're choosing and deciding to do. But that internal and that progress, exactly what you're talking about, like we're in this for the long game, guys. This is timeless. We have a capacity to to live like they did in biblical times for multiple hundreds of years, if not become completely interstellar beings in our light body. I know we're getting out there, but this is a very real and scientific, the science is beginning to validate that as we learn how to extract free energy from the quantum field, that this is a very real potentiality for us in this lifetime. There's nothing to rush, to hurry to get. We're whole, we're complete. The satisfaction in the enrichment and the fulfillment comes from this now, in being and experiencing all that we desire to be and experience. And I love that you tapped into progress, because it's the little gems of our lives that make it so miraculous and magical and meaningful. It's these micro nuanced moments of our experience. And sure, it's the great big grand miraculous things that drop into our reality too. And we do that. You and I are both palpable manifestors, especially when we choose to be.
Yeah. There's that.
Like super powerful. I can't, like the magnitude. I actually almost thought about creating a journal of all the things I manifest, but it's just so much. Sometimes I'm like, good Lord, it would take me it would require my whole life to even just document all of this, because it's the embodiment of it. And those things are meaningful, but it literally, the true enrichment, fulfillment, satiation comes through being cognizant of that reality all the time, in all moments, cognizant of the miracles, the beauty, the love, the gifts, the treasures, the fortunes, all of it that's in our present moment experience. And then also choosing to love ourselves with such a royal devotion that we give ourselves what we know will flourish us, and not what may only be temporarily gratifying, which leaves us empty on a longer term continuum. What do I know I require to have a sense of peace, serenity, fulfillment, health? And am I so in love with who I be? Am I so devoted to the life, the preciousness of this life and this body that I have opted into, that I've selected, that I have been granted? And I'm going to care for it with the same devotional honor, praise, and respect that I would my child. And to really become stewards of ourselves and our lives and our relationships and our creations and our legacy and our finances, and to find a sense of deep virtue and enrichment in that. It's such a great, like, I give thanks every single day in every moment for all that I am blessed to steward in my life. And I'm so thankful. And there's a sense of a fulfillment that does not come to me in any other way, except for I get to be a complete selfless steward unto this facet of my life, my world, my reality, myself. And there's just such a there's something so much more deeply rewarding about that than these temporary fly by the seat experiences. And that, I feel, is a very important, and that's the beauty of progress, because that's exactly what that is. You don't have to, it's like laying the bricks, right, for a house. And then when it's fully complete, it's like, yeah, I did that. I created that.
Yes.
And so it's like craftsmanship and celebrating every milestone and having it be just as marvelous and valuable as the full-on crystallized manifestation of the palace itself.
And that's the beautiful thing. And I want to just transition into sharing our upcoming program with people here. We've been on for an hour, which is like, where'd that go? But this piece, I just wanted to add on to that, is so beautifully just expressed. The pride, the self-pride and the self-respect that comes from you actually going through the full process of creating. And that's why what we're talking about when we say transcending the quote unquote process, it's not actually bypassing the work. The work is supposed to be fulfilling. That's we just got these weird pseudo spiritual flimsy orientation or interpretations through just some bad false light programs masquerading as like spiritual wisdom and the new age movement. And and it's like getting super practical while also getting super just getting super real, like what reality actually is, what it can be. And this point about, what's lacking in most people's lives, the epidemics of depression and mood disorders and lack of fulfillment. It really comes down to, the antidote to that is exactly what you're talking about, which is the pride that we feel inside of ourselves when we have actually put forth the work to create anything. That's the beauty of art. That's the healing power of art. And guess what? Your life is the greatest art. Your body, your mind, your holy temple that you exist in each moment of every day is your art. Your beingness is your greatest art. And I know for me, when I'm in that space of progress and I look myself in the mirror and I feel unrecognizable to who I used to be, or I go off on these deep ayahuasca ceremonies and I come out of this intense, full on kaleidoscopic, like journey into my soul, and I'm doing deep work and I'm moving through it, and I come out of it and I'm like, the feeling of absolute pride inside of myself as a soul is indescribable. Now, you don't necessarily have to have that experience. That's one of my initiatory transcendent callings, but it shows up more in the day to day. And so from a week to a month to a year to 10 years, planting those seeds and watering those seeds every single day, the devotion and the discipline, the discipleship to capital self, and what emerges from that is the most real fulfillment that exists on this planet, within our human experience.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, hearing too, to like the marriage of practicality and the mystically intoxicating experience that is accessible through union. So it's like becoming aware of where we do feel a sense of incompleteness, or we try to self-avert or self-avoid or resist or deny or not want to look at the thing. And actually, this will liberate an exorbitant amount of power in your body and your being. So I started integrating this practice years ago. Well, this because it was my guidance to integrate fully to love. I created a list of all the things in my life that I had an aversion to, that I was resisting, that I was pushing away, that I didn't want to look at. And what I did was I looked directly into those things. And not only did I look at them fully, I merged with them. I took them in. And I was in some deep shadow spaces in my own consciousness at that time. But I was like, if there's any space and place of fear in me, I'm going to look at that thing that I fear and I'm going to make love to it. It's like erotic shadow alchemy. Literally is what my experience of it was. Is like, I'm going to make love to this aspect of myself. And not only did it obliterate my fear, it brought me such a great degree of courage and true unconditional love. Because I realized that's just a part of me. I don't have to fear that thing. All I have to do is envelop it in love and give it the opportunity to transmute back into itself. But it does that through me becoming one with it. So atonement at oneness. And so I just became one with the fullness of my experience in love. And this is one of our next dialogues that I know we're going to tune into, because this is the actual majestic magic of the power of love, and how I have personally crystallized and manifest phenomenal things in my life when I've been in my quote darkest moments, because what I was present to was the beauty and the love of the experience I was having. So whether it was tears, whether it was whatever it was, deep sorrow for me, I've experienced and I don't want to go too much into history here because it's like just not even a recognizable reality to me anymore, but I've experienced the death of beings very close to me. And so I had to meet some very, you know, deep spaces of grief and sorrow in my being, and me merging with the beauty of that, and looking at it through the lens of beauty and unconditional love and becoming one with it was so powerful. Not only powerfully creative, powerfully transmutative, powerfully liberating. It actually liberated a depth of my own power and potentiality, empathy, all the gifts and treasures that can come through that, versus had I chosen to avert or attempt to separate from it because I didn't think it was high frequency.
Right.
The love that we bring to it is the unifying force, and it is the high frequency. So that's just a more overarching, unifying vantage point and perspective to bring to all the dimensions and facets of our experience that can allow us true freedom and liberation in the authenticity of what the unfoldment of our journey and our experience is.
Magnificently said. That's, yeah. Okay. Well, I think we should share with everyone what we have coming up and what we want to invite people to consider and ultimately join us on this 3-month adventure into everything that we've shared and so much more. And you were really the mastermind that initiated this conversation, and now we're bringing both of our worlds and our polymathic genius together and creating something truly extraordinary. So what would you like to share with people as an invitation?
Well, I'm just, if you're feeling the beauty, the potency, the power, the invitation, the actual invitation of this space, and you want to join us in this experience, I would say as of right now, the simple way to do that would be to connect with Ronnie or myself and to come immerse with us in this space. What I will say from the last sequence of masterminds that I have run and facilitated, they have been so profound and exponentially evolutionary in nature for everyone in the containers that every being has decided to rejoin into the next experience. And the magic of this, and truly the amplification power, the enhancement power, is us coming together to do this in a group. But where two or more are gathered, it is the reflective nature of all of our consciousness that allows for the exponential evolution and expansion of all of us in the container, in the sacred torus field and superflow that we create when we're in coherency as a group flow and group coherency. It exponentializes the dreams, the desires, the integrations, the synthesis of everybody in the space in a way that is truly unprecedented, unparalleled, and beyond the containers of intimate one-to-one work, which is also exponentializing in nature. However, the group container, I mean, it is its own living avatar being, entity, it's magic. And so if you're feeling the call to this, to join us, please say yes to your heart. We would love to have you in this container with us. And actually, I just had this kind of come online before we hopped on our call. Everyone who decides to join us before August 15th, I'm going to provide a Zen Cleanse 1 cleanse for, which is, this company is like the creme de la creme of cleansing. It is pristine, raw, vegan, organic. These light enzymes and fermented nutrients that it delivers to the body have literally been sung to in a dark room, mantras, sutras, like sacred sutras, for 5 years before they allow people to ingest them. So they are highly quantum calibrated, coded, symmetrically synergized for the body, and it's all the most pristine substance from nature. And the one that I would love to provide to everyone who joins us now is it's a full-length intestinal digestive cleanse. It will completely heal, rejuvenate, renew the digestive system in its entirety to set the stage for flow. And it also resets and rejuvenates the autonomic nervous system. So these primary systems where we actually course free energy flow through the body so that you have a full system reset, and it's one day. So it's simple, it's potent, it's efficient, it's pristine. And just to, prime your vessel for this sacred container, because I already feel us all together in this space. It is going to be extraordinarily powerful and expansionary for everybody who joins us. So right now, yes, please join out to Ronnie or myself. And that bonus I'm going to be providing for everybody personally before August 15th. And yes, that's what we have to bring forth now. I'm going to be working with the branding and all the beautiful fancy artistry of it this week, and bringing through the actual dates of the mastermind, all of our calls. So our calls are going to be weekly for 3 months. Ronnie and I are also going to be providing our highest level materials from our courses and from our private mentorship containers to everybody in the experience. So you'll be fully equipped with high value, world-class tools, resources to support you, activations, brainwave entrainment technology, all of that's going to be there for you. And we're going to be meeting as a collective group once weekly throughout the duration of this 3-month container for 1 to 1.5 hours. And all of our calls will be recorded for you also, so you'll have that to access. And we'll also have a group space where we are all connecting together. So you have the support of the whole group as well. So yeah, those are the.
I am incredibly excited for this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just so rich.
Yeah.
It's so rich, and we're all going to come through this. And I will say this for all the other containers that I facilitated, and I imagine that you have been a part of as well. You come out the other side of this completely completely new in the most extraordinary, meaningful ways. And with fabulous lifelong relationships and friendships too.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much I could say, but I think you said it absolutely perfect. We definitely would love to have you join us. And like Solara said, reach out to me or reach out to her, and we will get you the information. We'll get you set up if you're ready to go. And I don't think anything else needs to be said on my end. So I just want to thank you, as always, for joining me and being such a powerful, magnetic catalyst and avatar of a human being, such an incredible woman and such an incredible role model for what's possible in the human experience through all the deep work that you've done. It's an honor and pleasure to be on the journey with you, and then to collaborate and join forces with you. And the journey is just beginning, and I'm excited to take everybody along for the ride. So I know we're going to do a lot more lives and stuff. And as we progress with the program and everything, we definitely want to continue to share all these insights. And whether somebody joins the program or not, it's not about that. That's something we're obviously super passionate about, and we want you to join us. But either way, we want you to live the best life possible. Right. And so that's why we're doing these lives and just sharing and giving this forth. I mean, I just enjoy these conversations, so it just makes sense to share it with everyone else.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the deep desire is for you to really receive it and let it land in the somatic soils of your beautiful sacred vessel. And for you to, really extract the jewels that resonate with you to apply to your own experience so that you can thrive. That's the devotion. I am devoted to one flourishing, radiant, prosperous whole. And that is what brings a sense of true fulfillment. And so however you receive from this, the desire is that you simply receive what is for you at this time. And I thank you, one, for your stunning reflections. That means so much to my heart. So thank you, drinking all of that in, and honoring you for your continued devotion to embodied excellence and mastery, and the ferocity and the beauty and the ruthless passion that you have for that, always going to these deep layers within yourself, and then being so magnanimous in bringing your wisdom forth in the world. I love you so much. And I am so greatly appreciative to be sharing this journey with you. And I am absolutely thrilled for this container. Come join us for the extravagant party of the centuries. We're going to have a ball. It's going to be fun. It's going to be so much fun. And we would just absolutely love to be graced by your presence in the space. And we're holding that space to welcome you in. And we love you so much. Thank you for joining us. And really greatly looking forward to unfolding more beautiful live streams with one another.
Thank you so much. Love you.
Yes.
We'll see you all soon.
Yes.